anyways, I had this bird, and his name was Nick, and he was okay. I mean, like, he was not my bird, and he did not like me that much, and that was fine because it was reciprocated. The energy was reciprocated. I didn't really like him that much, but sometimes I would let him out of his cage, and he was a lovebird, and he was not loving in any way, which apparently is true of lovebirds. They're a bit finicky or whatever. Anyways, I used to have, like, back in the day, I used to play a lot of video games, and I don't anymore. But anyways, I really don't. I don't even remember that person. But I mean, the fact that I had a bird and I lived in Vancouver and played video games was like, it's like I had a lobotomy and came back as a different person. But anyways, the bird would sometimes, when I was playing video games, it would like land on my head and it would like sit on my head. That was like as close to affection as I ever got with the bird. But anyways, one time I was away, I was on tour, and my girlfriend, whose stupid bird it was, left me this hysterical message on my voicemail. So I like get off this plane and I check my messages, and she is just absolutely beside herself, and she says something along the lines, but in a hysterical, screaming voice, like that Nick has flown out of the apartment and is outside in a tree outside the apartment. And I don't know when the message came in or whatever. We lived on the 3rd floor, and so anyways, I call her back, and I'm like, what happened? Did you get him, or what? Like, what happened to him? And she says that she took the cage downstairs, and she stood in the alley, and she held the cage above her head, and she said, Nick, please, and she's like calling for Nick to come down, and he's like, do you know what a lovebird looks like? It's like fluorescent green, basically, with like red, pinkish, whatever, annoying little things, but he's like in the tree with like normal birds, like brown, or you know, like bees are buzzing around or whatever, and he is just like, I mean, can you imagine how weird the other birds must have found him? Like, I don't know. Anyway, so she's screaming and she's crying and she's screaming for him to come down. And so, okay, so we lived across the street from a fire department, and starts to draw attention because she's so out of control, and like a mailman and like a grandma with a grandkid, or like, you know, like all the typical neighbors start to sort of come and congregate, and then a fireman comes over and he's like, what can I help you? What's happening here? And she's like, my bird is up in the tree, and I have this cage, and I'm trying to get him to come down. So they bring a gigantic ladder, and they like put the ladder up against the apartment building, and the fireman, up he goes with the cage, and Nick, he gets to the top of the ladder with the cage, and Nick just hops right back in the cage, and he closes the door, and he comes back down. There's no point in the story except to say that Nick was the witness in the room when I wrote this next song, and soon after I wrote this song, I actually found out that Nick, he got really sick, and he was acting really strange for a couple of days, and I wasn't hoping he would die, but I was like, well, maybe it's the time for his life to end. Like, I don't know, maybe it's natural or whatever. And anyways, one day I went into the area where we had him, and he had laid an egg, and he was actually a girl, and it was probably one of the sickest things I've ever seen in my life, because I just didn't expect it. Like, maybe I would have thought it was like natural and amazing if I had thought, my bird's pregnant and it's gonna have an egg. Like, I walked in and I was like, what the hell is that? And it was like a bloody egg. I don't know, it was gross. But anyway, he died as soon as I moved away. It's not my fault that he died. I think that he died from loneliness, and one can you imagine me leaving your bird, and I'm your friendly sort of owner part-time, and so I mean, he obviously slipped into a deep depression and died. But anyways, I'm thinking about Nick for whatever reason.